Welcome to a deep dive into the year 1882, a period brimming with dynamic changes and pivotal milestones that shaped the course of history. As the world navigated the aftermath of political assassinations and the rise of industrial titans, many technological inventions and scientific breakthroughs shaped the way we live today. To go around the world after the assassination of Tsar Alexander II in 1881, Russia in 1882 entered a period of increased conservatism under his successor, Tsar Alexander III. The country experienced a tightening of political control and repression of opposing voices, marked by the implementation of strict censorship and the expansion of secret police activities. Africa was a continent deeply impacted by European colonial ambitions and internal power struggles among indigenous kingdoms and empires. The scramble for Africa was well underway, with European powers aggressively expanding their territorial holdings and establishing colonies across the continent. Native American tribes continued to grapple with the aftermath of forced relocation and resettlement policies implemented in previous decades. The Dawes Act of 1882 aimed to assimilate Native Americans into mainstream American society by allotting communal tribal lands to individual Native American households. This policy, however, often resulted in the loss of traditional communal land holdings and cultural practices, as well as the erosion of tribal sovereignty. South America was a continent experiencing significant political and economic transformations. Many countries in the region were consolidating their independence gained in the 19th century, although political stability remained elusive in some areas. Economic activities such as mining, agricultural, and trade continued to drive growth, particularly in countries like Brazil, Argentina, and Chile, which were emerging as key players in the global economy. 1882 heralded innovations that resonated far beyond their time. Cities were illuminated with the debut of electrical inventions, transforming celebrations. Discoveries were made that shaped the way we see a common disease that will save many lives. And socially, the year was marked by profound shifts in labor rights and societal reforms, culminating in the observance of a major workers' holiday. Join us as we unravel the year 1882, exploring its complexities, triumphs, and challenges that continue to resonate in the fabric of our modern world. Discover the stories, innovations, and human endeavors that shaped this transformative year and continue to influence our lives today. Queen Victoria, who reigned from 1837 to 1901, experienced a chilling moment of danger during an attempted assassination that shook the British Empire. The incident unfolded on March 2, 1882, as Queen Victoria and her grandson, Prince Albert Victor, were returning to Windsor Castle from the railway station. Roderick MacLean, a 28-year-old Scottish poet who had become fixated on gaining notoriety through an act against the monarchy, seized his chance and fired at the royal carriage from close proximity. The first shot missed its mark, prompting MacLean to quickly reload and fire a second shot, which also failed to hit its intended target. Both the Queen and Prince Albert Victor escaped physical harm due to MacLean's poor aim and the swift reaction of bystanders who tackled him to the ground. MacLean was promptly arrested and taken into custody by the police. At his trial, Roderick MacLean pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. Expert witnesses testified to his history of mental instability and delusions of grandeur, which included a belief that he was destined for fame through a dramatic act. The jury accepted the defense's argument, leading to MacLean's confinement to Broadmoor Hospital, a secure psychiatric institution where he spent the remainder of his life. On March 18, 1882, Morgan Earp, the younger brother of Wyatt Earp, was tragically murdered in Tombstone, Arizona. The events leading to his death were rooted in the ongoing tensions between the Earp brothers and a faction known as the Cowboys, a group involved in various criminal activities in the region. That night, Morgan was playing billiards at Campbell and Hatch's saloon with his brother Wyatt and several friends. Unbeknownst to them, Frank Stillwell, a known cowboy, had been stalking the Earps, possibly seeking revenge for the recent arrest of cowboy members by the Earps. Earlier that day, Wyatt had received information that Stillwell and others were lurking near the Earp residence, adding to the tension. Around 10 p.m., Morgan decided to leave the saloon and headed home. As he entered the dimly lit alley next to the saloon, he was ambushed by hidden assailants who fired several shots through a window. One of the bullets struck Morgan in the back, mortally wounding him. He was rushed back to the Earp residence where he succumbed to his injuries a short time later. Morgan's murder further escalated tensions between the Earps and the Cowboys, culminating in Wyatt Earp's determination to seek justice for his brother's death. The following week saw a series of retaliatory actions known as the Earp Vendetta Ride, during which Wyatt and his allies pursued and confronted several individuals they believed responsible for Morgan's murder. In 1882, Robert Koch discovers the tuberculosis germ, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. At the time, tuberculosis, often referred to as consumption or phthisis, was a widespread and deadly disease that had baffled physicians for centuries. Its symptoms of persistent cough, weight loss, fever, and fatigue devastated communities worldwide, leading to a high mortality rate and earning it the grim moniker of the White Plague. Robert Koch, a German physician and microbiologist, dedicated himself to unraveling the mystery of tuberculosis. Using innovative laboratory techniques and drawings on his earlier work with anthrax, Koch embarked on a series of experiments to identify the causative agent of tuberculosis. His breakthrough came when he developed a method to isolate and grow the bacterium responsible for the disease. Through meticulous observation under a microscope and staining techniques, Koch confirmed the presence of rod-shaped bacteria in the sputum and tissues of tuberculosis patients. On March 24, 1882, Koch presented his findings to the Physiological Society of Berlin, announcing the discovery of Mycobacterium tuberculosis as the specific pathogen responsible for tuberculosis. This discovery revolutionized the understanding of infectious diseases, proving for the first time that a bacterium could cause a specific human disease. Koch's postulates, which he formulated based on the discovery, provided a framework for determining the causative agent for any infectious disease. The impact of Koch's discovery was profound. It paved the way for improved diagnostic techniques, enabling physicians to accurately identify tuberculosis cases and distinguish them from other respiratory illnesses. It also facilitated the development of public health measures to control the spread of the disease, such as quarantine and sanatoriums for tuberculosis patients. Jesse James, one of America's most notorious outlaws and a prominent figure in the Wild West, met his demise on April 3, 1882, in a tragic and controversial manner. Born in 1847, James gained notoriety during the Civil War era as a guerrilla fighter for the Confederate cause, participating in raids and skirmishes in Missouri and neighboring states. After the war, he formed the James Younger Gang with his brother Frank James and other associates, embarking on a spree of bank and train robberies that spanned several states. However, it was an act of betrayal that ultimately led to Jesse James's demise. On that day in 1882, James was at his home in St. Joseph, Missouri, where he had been living under the alias Thomas Howard. Robert Ford, a member of the James Gang and seeking to claim a substantial reward, conspired with his brother Charlie Ford to capture or kill James. While James was adjusting a picture on the wall, Robert Ford seized the opportunity and shot him in the back of the head. Ford and his brother claimed they were acting in the interest of justice and public safety. Many viewed their actions as cowardly and dishonorable, as James had been unarmed at the time of the shooting. The Ford brothers were initially charged with murder but later acquitted, although they faced public condemnation and struggled with their own reputations for the rest of their lives. Jesse James's death marked the end of an era in the Wild West and became a defining moment in American folklore and outlaw history. His life and exploits continue to captivate popular imagination, inspiring countless books, movies, and songs that romanticize his adventure and the turbulent times in which he lived. Despite his criminal deeds, Jesse James remains a complex and enduring figure, a symbol of both rebellion and the darker side of the American frontier. On September 4, 1882, Thomas Edison achieved a groundbreaking milestone in the history of technology by inaugurating the world's first commercial electric power plant. Located on Pearl Street in Lower Manhattan, New York City, the Pearl Street station represented a remarkable leap forward in harnessing electricity for practical use. Edison, along with his team of engineers and inventors, had been tirelessly working to develop the viable system for generating and distributing electric power over a large area. The Pearl Street station operated using a direct current system powered by coal-fired steam engines. Edison's vision was to provide electric lighting as a safer, cleaner, and more efficient alternative to gas lamps, which had been the predominant form of urban lighting at the time. The successful operation of the power plant allowed Edison to demonstrate the feasibility and reliability of electric lighting to the public and potential investors. On that historic day, Edison himself flipped the switch to activate the power plant, illuminating a section of Lower Manhattan with electric light bulbs. The Pearl Street station initially supplied electricity to around 400 lamps to 85 customers, including residences, businesses, and offices. Edison's pioneering efforts with the Pearl Street station laid the foundation for the modern electric power industry and grid system. The success of his DC system at Pearl Street set a precedent for the construction of similar power plants in other cities, leading to the rapid expansion of electric utilities and the widespread adoption of electric lighting and power in the decades that followed. The first Labor Day parade in New York City on September 5, 1882 marked a pivotal moment in American labor history, reflecting the growing strength and unity of the labor movement amidst the rapid industrialization of the late 19th century. Organized by the Central Labor Union, an organization representing various trade unions and labor groups, the parade was a bold declaration of solidarity among workers across different industries. Starting from City Hall, the parade featured thousands of workers marching through the streets of Manhattan, proudly displaying banners, flags, and signs advocating for better working conditions, fair wages, and the recognition of labor rights. The participants represented a diverse array of trades, including carpenters, printers, bricklayers, and more, showcasing the broad support for labor reform across New York City. The atmosphere was charged with enthusiasm and determination, as workers voiced their demands for a shorter work week, safer working conditions, and an end to child labor. The parade route wound through the bustling streets, drawing the attention of onlookers and garnering widespread public support. Upon reaching Wendell's Elm Park, located in what is now Union Square, the parade culminated in a festive gathering. Here, speeches were delivered by prominent labor leaders and advocates, emphasizing the importance of collective action and solidarity in achieving social and economic justice for workers. The park filled with families enjoying picnics, music, and entertainment, creating a sense of community and camaraderie among attendees. The inaugural Labor Day parade in New York City set a precedent for future observances of Labor Day across the United States. It demonstrated the power of organized labor to mobilize and advocate for workers' rights in the face of industrialization and economic change. Over the years, Labor Day evolved into a national holiday, officially recognized by Congress in 1894, to honor the contributions of American workers and celebrate their achievements in building the nation's prosperity. The Battle of Tel el-Kebir, fought on September 13, 1882, was a decisive conflict during the Anglo-Egyptian War, also known as the Urabi Revolt. The battle took place near the village of Tel el-Kebir in Egypt's Nile Delta region. It pitted British and Egyptian forces loyal to Khedive Tewfik against the nationalist Egyptian army led by Colonel Ahmed Urabi. Urabi had risen to prominence as a leader of discontented Egyptian officers and civilians who sought to challenge foreign influence and restore Egyptian sovereignty. The British, concerned about maintaining control over the Suez Canal and their strategic interests in Egypt, intervened militarily to support Tewfik's government. Under the command of General Sir Garnet Wolseley, the British Expeditionary Force launched a swift and decisive assault on Urabi's position at Tel el-Kebir. The battle began in the early hours of the morning with a surprise British night march, catching the Egyptian forces off guard. Despite initial resistance, the disciplined and well-equipped British troops quickly overwhelmed Urabi's army. The battle lasted only a few hours before Urabi's forces were routed, leading to a decisive victory for the British and Egyptian loyalists. Colonel Urabi was subsequently captured and exiled, effectively ending the nationalist uprising and consolidating British control over Egypt. The Battle of Tel el-Kebir had significant implications for Egypt's future. It marked the beginning of British occupation and de facto control over Egyptian affairs, although Egypt technically remained a part of the Ottoman Empire. The British occupation would last until 1952, shaping Egyptian politics, society, and economy throughout the 20th century. The battle also underscored the complexities of imperialism and nationalist resistance in the region, highlighting the tensions between foreign intervention and local aspirations for independence and self-determination. In the winter of 1882, Edward Johnson, a pioneering inventor and collaborator of Thomas Edison, set out to bring a touch of modern marvel to the holiday season. Inspired by the warm, flickering glow of gas lamps that illuminated the snowy streets of New York City during Christmas, Johnson envisioned a way to replicate this enchanting ambiance indoors using Edison's revolutionary electric lights. With meticulous craftsmanship and boundless creativity, Johnson embarked on the ambitious task of creating the world's first electric Christmas lights. Hand-wiring a string of 80 bulbs in vivid reds, whites, and blues, he transformed Edison's practical invention into an amazing display of holiday cheer. On Christmas Eve 1882, Edward Johnson unveiled his creation to an eagerly awaiting audience in his home. Adorning a beautifully decorated Christmas tree with his electric lights, he ignited a breathtaking scene that instantly captivated all who saw it. As he activated the lights, the room was lit in a radiant glow that danced off the ornaments and filled the space with a sense of wonder and joy. The introduction of electric Christmas lights was a spectacle that drew considerable attention and admiration. Unlike traditional Christmas decorations such as candles or gas lamps, which posed fire hazards and were less reliable, Edison's electric lights offered a safer, more durable, and aesthetic pleasing alternative. The glowing bulbs radiated warmth and provided a festive ambiance that quickly captivated communities. Initially, Edison's electric lights were a novelty enjoyed primarily by the wealthy and those who had access to electricity. However, by the turn of the 20th century, electric Christmas lights had become more commonplace, spreading beyond laboratories and affluent homes to public displays and city streets. Communities began to embrace the tradition of decorating Christmas trees and homes with strings of colorful lights, symbolizing hope, joy, and the spirit of the holiday season. Much significance came from 1882, but there are other less notable events that I'd like to mention. Famous American showman P.T. Barnum made headlines worldwide when he acquired a majestic African elephant named Jumbo. Known for his larger-than-life circus spectacles and uncanny ability to attract crowds, Barnum saw Jumbo as a perfect addition to his traveling circus, which was already renowned for its exotic animals and sensational performances. Jumbo, a massive elephant standing over 3 meters tall and weighing several tons, had previously been a star attraction at the London Zoo, captivating audiences with his size and gentle demeanor. The purchase of Jumbo for $10,000 was considered a significant sum at the time, reflecting Barnum's commitment to securing the most extraordinary acts for his circus. Upon Jumbo's arrival in the United States, Barnum spared no expense in promoting his new star attraction, orchestrating elaborate marketing campaigns and parades to drum up excitement among the public. The Standard Oil Trust was formed by John D. Rockefeller in 1882. Rockefeller, a shrewd businessman, recognized the advantages of consolidating control over oil refining and distribution to achieve economies of scale and eliminate competition. To create the Standard Oil Trust, Rockefeller and his associates utilized a combination of aggressive business tactics and legal maneuvers. They formed a trust, a legal entity that allowed multiple companies to pool their resources and operate under a unified management structure. This structure enabled Standard Oil to coordinate production, distribution, and pricing across its vast network of refineries and pipelines, and controlled an estimated 90% of oil refining capacity in the United States by the early 20th century. The 8th Kentucky Derby was won by Apollo, a chestnut colt. Trained by Green B. Morris and ridden by jockey Babe Hurd, Apollo won the race with a time of 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Apollo made history as the first and only horse to win the Kentucky Derby without having raced as a 2-year-old. In 1882, people's lives were shaped by the rapid industrialization and urbanization of the era. The majority lived in rural areas, working in agriculture or small-scale crafts, while cities burgeoned with factories and new opportunities. Socially, a divide existed between the wealthy elite, who enjoyed the luxuries of the Gilded Age, and the working class, who often labored in harsh conditions with minimal rights or protections. Technological advancements such as the telephone and electric light were emerging, transforming daily life. Cultural norms were conservative, though movements for women's suffrage and labor rights were gaining momentum. Overall, the people of 1882 navigated a time of great change, balancing the allure of progress with the challenges of an increasingly complex and stratified society.